Many Americans feel their eyes glaze over whenever the topic turns to economics.
I can't make any sense out of this. I might as well quit.
This works to the advantage of politicians who use economic terms as a means to fog rather than promote clear thinking. To help clear up any confusion, this glossary identifies some of these terms, not in the way politicians necessarily speak them, but in the way taxpayers need to hear them. Budget, a playground for central planners.
The budget is more than simply numbers on a page. It is a measure of how well we are living up to our obligations to ourselves and one another.
Crisis, a dire situation requiring fast action from government.
Housing crisis, economic crisis,
unprecedented crisis.
We have to act.
And if we don't act swiftly and boldly, most experts now believe that we could lose millions of jobs.
500 million people will lose their jobs each month.
We have to act now.
Act without delay.
If we don't move swiftly, we have to work quickly.
What is not negotiable is the need for immediate action.
Crisis, an opportunity to expand government control.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste.
Financial crisis, credit crisis,
escalating crisis.
And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
We can and must turn this moment of challenge into one of opportunity.
Stimulus, the use of tax money to stimulate political support.
The idea here is simple.
They're planning on spending, a lot of money.
Let's think big right now.
Go for the kill.
Well, we all paid $787 billion in taxpayer cash for that massive stimulus package that was supposed to create jobs. Turns out the National Endowment for the Arts is getting a rather big slice of the pie.
So, well, then you get the argument, well, this is not a stimulus bill, this is a spending bill. What do you think a stimulus is? It is the same approach that helped lead us to this day of reckoning.
Bailout, the use of tax money to reward failed friends.
After the $85 billion government bailout of AIG, the Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped more than 300 points in midday trading.
All of a sudden, socialism was a good thing for them. They wanted the government to come in and give them welfare.
Now the bailout needs a bailout. 2 months after AIG was given that first emergency government loan, it's getting another lifeline. In the new rescue package, the government will invest $40 billion to buy AIG stock, buy more than $50 billion worth of the company's toxic mortgage securities, and loan AIG $60 billion at a lower interest rate. In turn, the company has to accept a freeze on executive bonuses.
Subsidy, the use of tax money to buy votes.
And I have been a big supporter of ethanol because Illinois is a big corn-producing state.
Would you invest a dime in it if there weren't subsidies?
No, you're going to have help to do it. John, we're not asking you to subsidize it. We are taking it out of what is paid in taxes.
Plan, the use of tax money to buy more votes.
We need a plan for auto workers. We need a plan for teachers.
I want to make it happen with you, AFL-CIO.
Revenue source, a powerless or unpopular group of Americans.
A surtax on the wealthiest people in this country who are among those who made these mistakes.
I think it is appropriate for us to impose a windfall profit tax on our oil companies.
The tax increase on a pack of cigarettes goes up 62 cents, bringing the federal tax alone to more than $1.
Now, it used to be smokers might try to save money by rolling their own cigarettes, but that may not be an option this time around, because on 1 pound of roll-your-own tobacco, the tax would go from $1 to $24.
Investment, politicians spending your money.
We'll invest in what works. We'll invest $15 billion a year for 10 years to develop technologies like wind power and solar power. An immediate investment of $100 million to support our relief efforts. We'll invest in innovative initiatives. This investment will grow over the coming year. We're making these investments not because I want to spend the American people's tax dollars, but because I want to protect them.
Grant, politicians spending more of your money.
Reading Rainbow is made possible by a grant from the National Science Foundation
through taxing middle-class families
The United States government has billions of dollars in free grant money. Do you know who to contact to apply for a free U.S. grant?
Funding. The public method of politicians spending your money.
The additional tax goes to fund children's health insurance programs.
I'm kind of surprised to be accused of funding acorns.
Defunding. Plan B when the public objects to funding.
They've probably all heard that Congress has defunded ACORN. And the truth of it is that Congress did a CYA move. They defunded ACORN just for the month of October. Get this, here when they finally were going to be defunded for 1 month, they receive $1 million grant from Homeland Security for what? Fire safety. They received 80% of the money for fire safety that was supposed to go to Louisiana.
Greed. Making money selling people what they want.
The era of greed, an era of selfishness and greed.
We're not trying to push financial reform because we begrudge success that's fairly earned. I mean, I do think at a certain point you've made enough money.
Walmart's profit last year was over $11 billion.
Capitalism. A system of economic liberty. Voluntary exchange.
Capitalism is the legal system that allows this greed to take place.
Takeover. Risking public money to expand government power.
The president asserted unprecedented government control over the auto industry.
It's a plan tailored to the realities of today's auto market, dependent on an unending flow of taxpayer dollars.
Compassion. The giving of money from someone who earned it to someone who did not.
The EITC was expanded this year by the President's Recovery Act, and you may be eligible for the credit if you work and make less than $49,000. And the credit itself may be worth up to $5,600. It's easy to get.
National debt. Government's mortgage on future generations.
We have already identified $2 trillion in deficit reductions that will help us cut our deficit in half by the end of my first term.
The national debt was moved up $800 billion.
Pushing the national debt to almost $13 trillion, the most it's ever been.
For our children.
Fiscal responsibility. An unpleasant task to be done at a later date.
We've got to spend some money now to pull us out of this recession. But as soon as we're out of this recession, we've got to get serious about starting to live within our means.
Obamanomics. The transfer of wealth from the people to the state.
By now, it should be fairly obvious.
It is a blank check to Washington with no oversight and no accountability.
If you tax people who work and pay people who don't work, don't be surprised if you find a lot of people not working.
Because that's who we are. It's an ideology that intentionally breeds incompetence, and it is time to turn the page and put an end to it.